My hands still remember how his felt. Even now, when I close my eyes, I feel him beside me. It's been 3 years, but he is still in every room I enter. He is in my morning coffee. He is in the songs on the radio. He is in the way I still leave space on the left side of the bed. People say time makes pain smaller, but I think time just teaches you how to carry it. My name is Natalie. I am 29 years old. I live in a small house in a quiet part of town. I work in a library, not the kind with many people, just a small one near the school. I help put books back in place and make sure everything is clean. It is simple work. After he died, I could not return to the place we both used to work. That place had too many memories. Now, I just want peace. I met Andrew when I was 22. He had short brown hair, kind blue eyes, and a smile that made me forget how to speak. He was 1 year older than me. He worked with computers and loved fixing old things. He once took apart a broken radio just to see if he could make it sing again. He made me laugh. He made me feel like I was the only person in the world. I had never felt that way before. We met at a small cafe where our friends used to gather every Friday evening. I didn't want to go that night. I was tired. I had a long week, but something inside me said, "Go." I sat at the end of the table, far from everyone. That's when he noticed me. He said he liked the way I stirred my tea slowly, like I was thinking about something big. I didn't even know I did that. But he saw it. We started talking more after that. Every weekend we went for long walks. He liked the park near the river. He said the water made him feel calm. We would walk without a plan, just talking about life, about books, about dreams we didn't tell anyone else. I felt like I could tell him anything. I never had that with someone before. We didn't move fast. We took our time. We wanted to build something strong. After 1 year, we moved into a small apartment together. It had 1 bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and windows that always let in soft light. It was not fancy, but we loved it. We painted the walls together. He cooked more than I did. I was not good at cooking, but he said I made the best coffee. I think he just liked the way I smiled when I handed him his cup. Our life was quiet, but happy. We didn't need big trips or new things. We had each other. We planned to get married one day, but we were in no hurry. We thought we had time. That is the thing about life. You always think you have time. One cold morning in March, he woke up feeling strange. He said he felt tired, more than usual. I told him to stay in bed, but he said he had work. He always tried to be strong. He didn't want me to worry. He left the house with a soft kiss and a joke about the weather. That was the last time I saw him. Later that day, I got a call. I was sitting at my desk in the library, looking at a stack of books. I don't remember putting the phone down. I don't remember walking home. Everything after that moment became slow and heavy. He had fallen at work. They tried everything, but it was too late. They told me it was his heart. something inside just stopped. He was only 30. I remember sitting on the floor of our living room, his jacket in my hands. I couldn't stop shaking. I didn't know what to do. The days after that were a blur. People came to say kind things. They brought food. They said he was a good man. I didn't want food. I didn't want words. I just wanted him. I didn't sleep for many nights. I would lie in our bed and watch the ceiling. I would turn to his side and wait, like maybe if I stayed quiet enough, he would come back. I kept talking to him, in my mind, in the air. I asked him why he left. I asked him if he was safe. I told him I was scared. I told him I was angry. Then I told him I missed him. I still talk to him every night. People said I should move out of that apartment. They said it would be better. But I couldn't. His books were still on the shelf. His old watch was still on the table. The small dent in the kitchen door was still there from the time he dropped a heavy pot. Every corner of that space had a piece of him. I was not ready to let go. After 6 months, I changed my job. I left the place where we first met. It was too hard. I started working at the small library across town. The pay was not much, but the silence helped. I could shelve books all day and not speak if I didn't want to. Some days were harder than others. Some days I would see a man with brown hair walking past, and for 1 second I would think it was him. Then I would remember. I didn't try to make new friends. I didn't go out much. I liked being alone. At night I would sit by the window with a cup of tea. I would talk to him like we used to. I told him about my day. I told him I saw a woman slip on ice and laugh at herself. I told him I heard a song that made me cry. I told him I saw an old man with a flower in his hand, and I wondered who it was for. Sometimes I asked him if he missed me. I asked if he saw me cry. I asked if he was proud of me for still trying. I kept his sweater on a chair in the bedroom. I never moved it. It still smells like him. I know one day that smell will fade. That thought hurts more than I can say. Every night before I turn off the lights, I say, "Good night, Andrew." And in my heart, I wait for his voice to answer. I am sharing my story, hoping they reach someone. Are you there? Are you listening? Just knowing you're here means everything. After 1 year, I started to walk again on Sundays. Andrew loved Sunday walks. He said they helped him feel free. I tried to follow the same path we used to take. I walked past the bakery he liked, even though I never stopped. I passed the bench where he once tied my shoe because I hurt my back bending over. That memory came back so clear, I had to sit down. I sat on that same bench for a long time. The street was quiet. A small bird landed near my foot and looked up at me like it knew I was sad. A woman walked by with her little boy. He ran ahead, laughing. She called after him and smiled at me. I gave a soft smile back. That boy had Andrew's hair. That small thing broke me a little again. I still didn't speak much at work. My coworkers were kind, but they didn't ask questions. I think they knew. One of them, Beth, would sometimes leave a cup of tea at my desk without saying a word. I liked that. I didn't want people to talk. I just wanted them to understand. Beth never asked about him, but one day she gave me a small photo of her dog and said, "He passed last year. I still hear him in the hall." I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel so alone. I didn't wear black all the time, but I couldn't wear bright colors either. They felt too loud. I wore soft clothes, old sweaters, jeans Andrew liked. One gray sweater had a tiny hole near the arm. He used to joke that I needed a sweater fund. I wore it anyway. I didn't open the top drawer of his nightstand. I couldn't. It still had his things. Old receipts, coins, a pair of broken glasses. I told myself one day I would open it, but not yet. I started keeping plants. It wasn't something I planned. One morning, I saw a small plant at the market. It had round green leaves and looked easy to care for. I brought it home. I placed it near the window where Andrew used to read. Slowly, more plants came. A tall one with wide leaves, a short one with tiny flowers. I didn't know much about plants, but I learned. I gave them water. I moved them into the sun. I spoke to them sometimes. I didn't say much, just small things like, "You're doing okay," or "Nice job today." They didn't speak back, but they didn't need to. One night, I dreamed about him. I was sitting on the floor of our old apartment, and he walked in like nothing ever happened. He looked happy. He wasn't in pain. He sat beside me, looked me in the eyes, and said, "You're doing better than you think." When I woke up, I cried, but it was a soft cry. It didn't break me. It warmed something inside me. I went to visit his parents once. They lived about an hour away. I hadn't seen them in many months. I didn't know if I could face them. But one day, I felt ready. I brought flowers. His mom opened the door and hugged me. She cried a little, but it wasn't heavy. We sat in the kitchen, drank tea, and looked through old photos. She told me stories I had never heard, about how he used to be afraid of the dark, how he once broke a chair and blamed the cat. I laughed. A real laugh. His dad didn't say much, but he put his hand on mine before I left. That said more than words could. On the way home, I stopped by a small shop and bought a candle. It smelled like pine trees. Andrew loved camping. We used to go to a forest just outside the city. We didn't have much gear, just a tent and each other. We would sleep close and listen to the wind. I lit the candle that night and sat on the floor. I didn't cry. I just sat and let the smell take me back. Months passed. The pain didn't leave, but it changed shape. It was no longer a storm. It was a quiet rain that came and went. Some days were harder. On those days, I allowed myself to feel it. I didn't push it away. I didn't hide from it. I let it be. I still talk to him every night. I didn't speak out loud anymore. But in my head, I told him about my day. I told him when something made me laugh. I told him when I felt proud for doing something new, like the day I fixed the sink by myself, or the day I ate dinner at a small restaurant alone without feeling strange. I think he would be proud of those things. I started walking in the mornings too. There was something soft about early light. I liked seeing the world before it was busy. One morning, I saw an old woman sitting on a bench feeding birds. She looked at me and said, "You're strong, dear." I didn't know what she saw in me, but I believed her. I still wore his watch sometimes. It didn't work anymore, but I didn't care. I liked the way it felt on my wrist. It was big and heavy. It made me feel close to him. I didn't care if people asked why. One day at the library, a man came in asking for help. He had soft eyes and a lost look, like he had just moved to the city. He needed help finding books for his daughter. I helped him. We didn't talk much, but he smiled and said, "Thank you for being kind." That stayed with me. Not because he smiled, but because I didn't feel afraid. I still loved Andrew. I always will. But something inside me had started to shift. I no longer cried when I said his name. I smiled more. I took deeper breaths. I began to feel the ground under my feet again. And every night, I still say, "Good night, Andrew." It is not a habit. It is a promise. 1 year turned into 2. The house was still quiet, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like a place where someone had lived with love. I didn't change much. I kept the same curtains. I still placed his shoes by the door. They didn't fit me, but I couldn't put them away. I liked seeing them there. It made the space feel warmer. I had fewer bad days. I smiled more at strangers. I started going to the small market every Saturday. I picked fruit carefully, like he used to. I walked slower, looked at the world more. Sometimes I saw couples holding hands. I didn't feel jealous. I felt thankful. I had that once. Some people never do. One cold morning, I found myself laughing at something on the radio. It was a silly joke, but I laughed without thinking. That was the first time in a long time I laughed without guilt. I told Andrew about it that night. I said, "You would have rolled your eyes at that one." I smiled before sleeping. The plants in my house started to grow. One of them had tiny white flowers. Another one was now too tall for the small table. I moved it near the window. Taking care of them made me feel calm. When I watered them, I didn't think. I just did it. That felt good. I didn't talk much about Andrew to other people, but one day, Beth asked me if I wanted to join her for a walk after work. I said yes. It was simple. We didn't speak much. But near the end of the walk, she asked, "Do you still talk to him?" I said, "Yes, every night." She didn't laugh or say it was strange. She just nodded and said, "I talk to my mom too." We both understood something in that moment. Pain is different for each person, but it brings people closer if they let it. One afternoon, I walked past a new art shop. I stopped and looked through the window. A man was painting near the back wall. There was soft music playing. I stood there for a while, just watching. I didn't go inside, but something about it felt right. I passed that shop many times after. I liked the colors. I liked the way the man moved his brush. It reminded me of peace. That winter, it snowed more than usual. The city was quiet. I sat by the window, wrapped in a blanket, and watched the snow fall. I made hot tea and held the cup with both hands. I remembered the winter when Andrew and I made a snowman outside the old apartment. He gave it a crooked smile and said, "Looks like your uncle." We laughed so hard that day. I smiled at the memory. I didn't cry. I started writing small things again. Not big stories, just small moments. A funny bird I saw at the bus stop. A dream I had about flying. A word someone said wrong that made me laugh. I didn't write them to share. I wrote them so I wouldn't forget. My head felt lighter when I wrote. One night, I stood in the kitchen making tea. I looked over and saw his old mug. It had a chip near the top. I picked it up and used it. For the first time in years, I drank from his mug. It felt like a small win. On his birthday, I didn't stay home. I went for a walk by the river. I sat on our old bench and watched the water move. It was cold, but I stayed. I talked to him in my mind. I said, "I still miss you, but I'm okay. I think you'd be proud of me." A bird flew over the river at that moment. It felt like a sign. There were still days when I missed him too much. Days when I woke up and reached for someone who wasn't there. Days when I heard his voice in a dream and didn't want to wake up. But I let those days come. I didn't fight them. I just waited for them to pass. I started helping a young girl at the library. She came in every week with her mother. She liked books about animals. One day she asked me why I always wore the same watch. I said, "It used to belong to someone I loved." She smiled and said, "Then it's very special." I said, "Yes, it is." I never stopped saying goodnight to him, but I also started saying good morning to myself. That was new. That felt important. I didn't forget him. I never will. But I didn't feel frozen anymore. I felt like a person walking forward, one small step at a time. The pain stayed, but it changed. It didn't break me. It became part of me, like a quiet song always playing in the background. I still loved him, but I also started to love the new life I was building. And every night, before I turned off the lights, I still said, "Good night, Andrew." Not because I was lost, but because I will always carry him with me